Invisible calculations. Mira Patel had perfected the art of invisibility at Nebula Innovations. For 3 years, she had developed the complex algorithms that powered the company's revolutionary quantum computing systems. And for 3 years, the billionaire CEO Eli Novak had walked past her desk without a second glance. She pushed her wire-framed glasses higher on her nose as she stared at her monitor. Numbers and equations filled the screen, forming patterns only she could interpret. Mira's fingers flew across the keyboard, her mind translating abstract concepts into elegant mathematical solutions. The Demon Protocol is showing efficiency drops of 0.3%, she murmured to herself, documenting the anomaly in her notes. It was minor enough that most would ignore it. But Mira knew that in quantum computing even the smallest variables could cascade into critical failures. Around her, the open office buzzed with activity. Developers argued over coffee about coding frameworks, while marketing teams planned campaigns for products they barely understood. Mira existed in her own bubble, focused and forgotten. At precisely 9:15, the elevator doors opened and Eli Novak strode into the office. Tall, with sharp features and perpetually tousled dark hair, he moved with the confidence of a man who had built a tech empire before turning 35. Employees straightened as he passed their desks. Some offered eager good mornings. Others simply watched with admiration or envy. Eli nodded absently, his attention fixed on his phone as he walked directly past Mira's workstation without acknowledgement. She hadn't expected anything different. "He wouldn't recognize you if you set yourself on fire," remarked Kira, her desk neighbor and only friend at Nebula. Kira worked in UI design and possessed both artistic talent and an inability to filter her thoughts. Mira shrugged. "I'm not here to be recognized, I'm here to solve problems." "Such a waste." Kira sighed dramatically. "You're brilliant, gorgeous, and completely invisible to him." "That's how I prefer it," Mira replied, though something tightened in her chest. She didn't want Eli's attention, not really. Their worlds existed on entirely different planes. He operated in boardrooms and penthouse offices. She thrived in data and theoretical mathematics. At lunch, Mira sat alone in the company courtyard, a protein bowl in one hand and her tablet in the other. She was reviewing the Demon Protocol's performance metrics when a shadow fell across her screen. "Dr. Patel?" She looked up, surprised to find Jason Chen, Eli's chief technical officer, standing before her. Tall, slim, and impeccably dressed, Jason was known for his brilliance and impossibly high standards. "Yes?" She closed her tablet instinctively, protective of her work. "I need you in the Prometheus meeting. Now." Mira blinked. "But I'm not on the Prometheus team." "You are as of 5 minutes ago." Jason checked his watch. "Eli wants the best mathematicians on this." "Apparently that's you." Mira gathered her things quickly, her mind racing. Prometheus was Nebula's most secretive and important project. Why would Eli suddenly want her involvement? She had been working on quantum algorithms for years without recognition. What had changed? She followed Jason into the elevator, her heart beating faster than she would admit. After 3 years of invisibility, Mira Patel was about to step into Eli Novak's direct line of sight. She wasn't sure if she was ready for what might happen next. Numerical proximity. The Prometheus conference room hummed with tension when Mira entered. 6 people sat around the gleaming table, all with expressions ranging from stressed to terrified. At the head sat Eli Novak himself, staring at projected figures with narrowed eyes. "We're looking at a complete system collapse in less than 72 hours. Someone was saying the quantum stability matrix is deteriorating at an exponential rate. Eli looked up as Jason and Mira entered his gaze, passing over her briefly before returning to the projections. "Chen, tell me, you've brought someone who can fix this." "Dr. Mira Patel, our leading quantum mathematician," Jason replied, gesturing to Mira. "She's been with us 3 years. Eli's eyes returned to Mira, assessing her properly for the first time. She felt herself being catalogued and analyzed in seconds. 3 years? He frowned slightly. "And we're only bringing you into Prometheus now?" Mira stepped forward, keeping her voice steady. "I've been working primarily on the Demon Protocols." Something flickered in Eli's expression. "The Demon stability algorithms are yours? That's some of our most elegant work." Before Mira could respond, he gestured to the chair beside him. "Show me what you see here." For the next hour, Mira lost herself in the numbers. She forgot about Eli's proximity, forgot about the others watching. The Prometheus quantum engine was beautiful but flawed. She traced patterns in the code, finding microscopic errors that compounded across systems. "It's a cascading entropy effect," she finally said, looking up to find Eli watching her intently. The original calculations didn't account for quantum decoherence at this scale. Can you fix it? Eli asked quietly. Mira nodded. I need 48 hours and access to the core frameworks. Eli stood decision-made. You've got it. Work directly with me on this. The next 2 days became a blur of equations and coffee. Mira worked from Eli's private office, their workstations side by side as they rebuilt the Prometheus engine from its foundation. She discovered that beneath his imposing exterior, Eli possessed a brilliant analytical mind that complemented her theoretical approach. How did you see that pattern? He asked on the second night as they stared at her solution. I've had 6 teams looking at this for months. Mira shrugged. Numbers talk to me, always have. Eli leaned back, studying her with new interest. You've been here 3 years and this is the first real conversation we've had. That's inexcusable. You run a company with 800 employees, Mira replied. You can't know everyone. I should know the people doing work like yours. He countered, then smiled slightly. Especially when they've apparently been saving our systems from collapse without recognition. When they finally implemented the solution, Mira felt a strange mix of triumph and loss. For 48 hours, she had existed in Eli's orbit working as equals. Tomorrow, she would return to her regular desk, her invisibility. We need to celebrate, Eli announced as the system stabilized. Dinner? Unless you have plans tonight. Mira blinked, surprised. No plans, but you don't have to. I want to. He interrupted, then added more softly. I'd like to properly thank the woman who just saved my company, and maybe learn why I never noticed her before. Something warm unfurled in Mira's chest as she nodded. Stepping into the elevator together, she realized that whatever happened next, she would never be truly invisible to Eli Novak again. Part 3. Variables and Constants. The restaurant Eli chose overlooked the city skyline, lights twinkling below like earthbound stars. Mira felt distinctly out of place in her simple work clothes, while other diners wore cocktail dresses and tailored suits. Eli, however, seemed oblivious to her discomfort, his attention focused entirely on her. So tell me about yourself, he said. After they ordered the parts that aren't in your employee file, Mira smiled. What makes you think you've seen my employee file? I read it this morning, Eli admitted without shame. After watching you work, I wanted to know how we'd managed to hire someone with your abilities. And what did you learn? That you graduated top of your class at MIT at 19. That you published groundbreaking papers on quantum mathematics before joining Nebula. That on paper you're brilliant. Eli leaned forward. But nothing about why someone who could be heading any research department in the country is working as a mid-level analyst at my company. Mira took a sip of her wine, considering her answer. I liked the problems Nebula was solving, and I preferred doing the work to managing others doing the work. You've been deliberately staying out of the spotlight, he observed. Not everyone wants to be seen, Eli. He studied her for a long moment. I find that hard to believe, especially in your case. Their food arrived, elegant dishes that Mira barely tasted as conversation flowed between them. Eli shared stories of Nebula's early days working from his apartment with just 3 developers. Mira found herself opening up about her childhood in a small town where her mathematical gifts had made her an outsider. It's strange, Eli said as they finished dessert. I feel like I've known you much longer than 2 days. Technically, you've known me for 3 years, Mira teased. Eli's expression turned serious. No, I haven't. I knew of your existence, maybe, but I didn't know you. His hand moved across the table, resting lightly on hers. I'd like to change that if you'll let me. Mira felt heat rise to her cheeks. This seems complicated. You're my boss. Technically, the board is my boss and your boss and everyone's boss, Eli replied with a smile that transformed his usually serious face. But I understand your concern. We can take things slowly, see where they go. The next few weeks became a delicate dance of professional and personal. During days, Mira joined the Prometheus team, working closely with Eli, but maintaining careful boundaries. Evenings sometimes stretched into dinner, or walks through the city where conversation ranged from theoretical physics to childhood memories. One evening, as they walked along the waterfront, Eli's hand found hers. their fingers intertwining naturally. "You know the office is talking," Mira said softly. "About us." Eli's thumb traced patterns on her palm, sending warmth up her arm. "Does that bother you?" "It's not ideal to be known as the woman sleeping with the boss," she replied, then blushed. "Not that we're sleeping together. I just meant—" "I know what you meant." Eli stopped walking, turning to face her. "And for the record, I don't care what anyone thinks, but I care what you think." Mira looked up at him, moonlight silvering his features. "I think I'm scared. This feels too important to get wrong." Eli's hand gently cupped her cheek. "Then we'll be careful. Together." When his lips met hers, Mira understood that some equations had no perfect solution, only beautifully complex possibilities. Solving for X, the company retreat was held at a luxury mountain resort 200 miles from the city. Wooden cabins nestled among pine trees while the main lodge housed conference rooms and dining facilities. Mira had debated not attending until Eli mentioned he'd arranged for her to present her work on quantum algorithms. The board should know who's responsible for saving Prometheus, he'd insisted. Now she stood on the balcony of her cabin watching sunset paint the mountains gold and crimson. 3 months had passed since the Prometheus crisis. 3 months of working with Eli, professional lines blurring despite their best intentions. They had been careful, discreet. But the way Eli looked at her across conference tables left little doubt about his feelings. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find Eli holding 2 glasses and a bottle of wine. "I thought we might enjoy the sunset," he said, then noticed her expression. "Unless you'd rather be alone?" Mira stepped back, allowing him entry. "I was just thinking about how complicated everything's become." Eli poured the wine, handing her a glass. "Complicated doesn't mean bad." They sat together on the balcony, watching darkness settle over the mountains. Conversation flowed easily between them until Eli asked the question she'd been dreading. "Why? Are you still hesitating with us?" Mira sighed. "Because relationships between CEOs and employees never end well, Eli. Because I've worked too hard to be known for my mind only to become Eli's girlfriend overnight." "Is that what you think would happen?" "It's what always happens." Eli set down his glass, turning to face her fully. "Mira, look at me. If you don't want this relationship, say so, and I'll respect that. But if you're saying no because you're afraid of what others might think, or how it might affect your career, those are problems we can solve together." His hand found hers. "I've never met anyone like you. Someone who sees the world in equations and poetry simultaneously." The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. When he leaned forward, she met him halfway, their kiss deepening with months of restrained desire. His hands tangled in her hair as she pressed closer, eliminating the space between them. "Stay with me tonight," she whispered against his lips. Later, as moonlight filtered through the windows, Mira traced patterns on Eli's bare chest, her head resting in the crook of his arm. Their bodies fit together like variables in a perfect equation. "What happens when we go back?" she asked. Eli's fingers drew lazy circles on her shoulder. "Whatever we decide happens. Together." Mira propped herself up, looking down at him. "Promise me something. Anything. Promise that no matter what happens between us, my work stands on its own." Eli pulled her down for a gentle kiss. "Your work would stand on its own if I didn't exist, Mira. That's never been in question." As she drifted to sleep in his arms, Mira wondered if perhaps they could solve this equation after all, finding balance between personal and professional, heart and mind, power and equality. Part 5. Perfect Equation. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning 3 weeks after the company retreat. Mira stared at her screen, pulse quickening as she read the offer from Riverton Systems, Nebula's chief competitor. "They're offering me double my salary and my own research department," she told Kira at lunch. Kira whistled. "That's incredible. Are you going to tell Eli?" Mira pushed her food around her plate. "I don't know. Things between us are already complicated enough." "Complicated meaning you're secretly dating your billionaire boss who you're madly in love with?" "We're not," Mira began, then stopped. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to anyone with functioning eyeballs," Kira replied gently. "But seriously, what are you going to do?" Mira spent the afternoon running probability scenarios in her mind. Riverton offered freedom. Professional recognition, the chance to build something of her own. Staying meant continuing to navigate her relationship with Eli, the complications of power dynamics and office politics. At 6, she knocked on Eli's office door, finding him reviewing quarterly reports. "Can we talk?" she asked. Eli immediately set aside his work concern, crossing his face. "What's wrong?" Mira placed the Riverton offer on his desk, watching as he scanned it, his expression unreadable. "They approached me last week," she explained. "The offer came today." Eli set down the paper. "It's an excellent opportunity. They're offering everything you deserve." "That's all you have to say?" He stood, moving to the window, hands in pockets. "What do you want me to say, Mira? That I don't want you to go?" "Of course I don't. But I also don't want to be the reason you turn down an opportunity like this." Mira approached him. "I need to know if what's between us is real or just convenient, because we work together." Eli turned, his eyes intense. "Nothing about my feelings for you is convenient, Mira. They've completely upended my life in the best possible way." He took her hands. "If you want this job, take it. I'll miss working with you every day, but we can figure out the rest." "And if I stay?" "If you stay, I'll make sure you get your own research department here. The recognition and position you deserve. Things I should have given you years ago." Mira studied his face. "You'd do that regardless of us?" "Your work earned it long before I noticed you, Mira. Us is separate from that." She stepped closer. "What exactly is us, Eli?" His hands framed her face. "Us is me falling in love with the most brilliant woman I've ever met. Us is me hoping you might feel the same." Mira's heart stuttered. "You love me?" "Completely. Irrationally, mathematically." He smiled, in all possible quantum states simultaneously. Mira laughed, tears pricking her eyes. "That's not how quantum states work." "Teach me then," he whispered. "Teach me everything. Just stay." 3 months later, Mira stood before Nebula's board presenting the findings of her quantum mathematics research team. The department created specifically for her had already made breakthroughs in computational efficiency. As she finished her presentation, Eli caught her eye from the end of the table, pride evident in his expression. His smile was private, meant only for her. Later that evening in the penthouse, they now shared, Mira curled against Eli's side on their balcony. "Regrets about turning down Riverton?" he asked, kissing her temple. Mira shook her head. "None, though I still think we should have waited longer to move in together." "Why wait when the equation balances perfectly?" Eli murmured against her hair. Mira smiled, knowing he was right. What existed between them defied conventional logic, yet worked with perfect mathematical precision. They had found the solution, neither invisibility nor spotlight, but partnership. Equals in every way that mattered. And as the city lights twinkled below like the stars above, Mira realized some problems weren't meant to be solved but lived, beautifully complex and ever-evolving, just like love itself.